What do fellas, and welcome back to the channel. Today we'll be going into project number 4 in the how to get started with Arduino series. In this project we'll be building kind of a mood cube with a servo motor, which is the first time we'll be using that. Very exciting. And of course also some other electronic components, which I will go more in depth in the further part of the video. On my last video, I got some feedback from Paul Walsham that I was saying too much so in the start of my sentences. So, going forward, I will try to use less so. So, if you guys have some other feedback from my videos, make sure to leave them in the comment, and I will also try to implement them in the future videos. Thank you very much. Without further ado, let's just go into the project. In this project, we are going to need, of course, the Arduino board. We need a breadboard. We need a potentiometer. Sorry. This comes in two parts. So we have the white part here with the arrow on top, and also the blue part. All we do is just connect these two, and now we have something we can turn, which will then affect something else in our project. We also need two capacitors, a 3 pin from female to male headed pins, I think it's called. A servo motor. This is the first time we are seeing a servo motor. We'll also use this in other projects further on. This is very exciting. And at last, we also need some variety of jumper wires. To start off, we are going to, of course, connect the 5 volts as we did in the other projects to the plus on the breadboard, and also the ground to the minus on the breadboard. After this, we are going to place the potentiometer on the breadboard. As you see, it also has 3 pins. Unlike the switch, it's very important that we place, or it's not very important, but we need to use all 3 pins. If you want, you can also connect it to the other side. Just for the sake of the video, let's just do that. So, as we see here, we'll connect. 2 seconds. We've connected 2 of the pins on one side of the breadboard and the other pin on the other side of the breadboard. You can also, of course, plug it into the same side. It just has to have their own channels. Next up, we are going to connect some jumper wires to the potentiometer. Left pin of the potentiometer is what we're going to connect to the ground. The right pin are going to connect to the power. Here we go. And then the middle pin, as we did in the last project, we are going to connect to the analog input number 0, or the A0 here. This will work as the input pin for the data the potentiometer shows us. So we'll just go ahead and connect this to the row the 3rd pin is in, and then to the A0 right here. There we go. So to connect the servo motor to the breadboard or the circuit, you see here it only has 3 female pins, where we will use the connector or adapter here to plug it in here. And now we can also plug this into the breadboard. Here we go. There we go. So, it's very important that you see the wires here on the servo motor has different colors. The black wire needs to be connected to the ground, or the pin that connects to the black wire is to the ground. You'll just connect this right red wire here, as we see in the far right, needs to be connected to the power. So we'll just connect this right here. There we go. And the white pin, as we see here in the middle, we will connect to pin number 9. Now, it's pretty important that we connect it to pin number 9 here, because as we can see, it has a little, I don't know if you can see it on the video, but it has a little mark in front of the 9, which means that we can, it has something called pulse width modulation. This works by, it can alternate how much power is coming to the pin, which is important in this project. If you want to look into more on what pulse width modulation means, or the PWM, it's short, you can also look into other videos on that, but we'll not go too much into depth in this video. So we'll connect the middle white pin to pin number 9 on the Arduino breadboard. Now we have come to input the capacitors. These works by smoothing out any voltages, which makes the circuit a little bit smoother. Now, it's very important with these capacitors, that we connect them to the right side. So you see here, it has of course a short leg and a long leg, but it also has this little gray side here with a little black stripe. This side needs to be connected to the ground, and the long leg needs to be connected to the ground. This is very important for the capacitors not to stop working, and for the circuit as well. So we will connect the short leg of the capacitor to the ground, and the long leg to the power. We will do this with the servo motor, but also with the potentiometer to smooth out the voltages coming in and out from both sides. There we go. Now we've actually finished the circuit. So let's just go into the Arduino IDE and actually build the code. The first thing that we need to do after coming into the Arduino IDE is to include the servo library, which is not automatically included in when you start up the Arduino IDE. We do this by typing in #include and then servo.h in some brackets. Next up, we also need to save the servo under a variable, which we do by typing servo and then the variable name, which is, we just called it myservo. Next up, we also need to set up some other variables for this project. We first off need to set up the potentiometer pin, which we set equal to the A0, aka the analog input pin number 0. Next, we also need to make a variable for the potentiometer value, aka potval. And then at last, we also need to make a variable which is where the servo will kind of determine which angle it will point to, aka just angle. Next up, in the setup function, we also need to attach the servo motor to the pin that we actually set it equal to in the circuit. We use this by using a servo function, which was in the library we included in the start, by doing myservo.attach equals to, or in brackets, pin number 9, since it was the pin we used. And in the setup function, we also set open a connection to the serial monitor, of course, with the serial.begin. Next up, in the loop function, we are going to acquire the potentiometer value. We will do this by setting equal to, of course, the variable potval, which was the potentiometer value variable, equal to analog read, which was the function to read the input from an analog pin, and of course the pot pin, which was the pin we used for the potentiometer. We are also going to input the potentiometer value into the serial monitor by again using the serial.print function. To determine the angle which the servo motor needs to be set at, we need to use a handy function called the map function. This works by taking in 5 arguments. The first is the number which we need to be scaled, which will be the pot val, or the potentiometer value. The next is the minimum value of the input. The next is the maximum value of the input. The minimum value of the input for the potentiometer is 0 and the maximum is 1023, which we will then of course put in. And the minimum, of course, or the fourth number we put into the function is the minimum value of the output, which is also 0, and the maximum value of the output, which is 179, which is the maximum degree of numbers the servo motor takes in. Then the map function works by calculating a number from the potentiometer value, which was between 0 and 1023, and then scaling the number down so it makes sense to be between 0 and 179. After finding the angle for the servo motor, we also need to input this or these results into the serial monitor. To actually tell the servo motor which angle it needs to be set at, we need to use the .write function on the myServo variable. After the myServo.write function, we need to input the angle number which we found using the map function. After this, we will also use a small delay, so make the system run a little bit more smoothly. After we've built the code, as we can see in the Arduino IDE here, we just need to, as we did in the other projects, connect the computer to the Arduino board with a USB 2.0 cable. There we go. There we go. And also, as the other videos, we just need to go up here in the drop down up here. You see my board is already connected, but if your board is not, you just need to click your board here and then just press upload. There we go. Now we can see it just takes a little while done uploading and compiling. So if we pan down, I've made a little bit of adjustments to the breadboard here, so these works a little better. It just has a little bit more room to play with, but the idea as when I built it is the same. So let's test it out. If or when we should turn this potentiometer here, the servo motor should also turn, which means that our project would be good. Let's try it out. We see here, I'll just move the motor here. When I turn this potentiometer, the servo motor also moves. So the idea behind this project was to make it as kind of a mood cue. So if you wanted to, you could build some kind of like a variety here. So if you're in a bad mood, you can see you could turn it a bit over so the angle was more to the right, you means you're in a bad mood. Or if you're in a good mood, you can turn it all the way to the left. It's just all the way to the left here, which means that the angle here is in the green, which could be a good. You could make anything with this. You could also make kind of like a little box. So for example, if you make a little slit in the box, you can see here, then this could be into the slit. But when you need to open the box, you can just turn this and then the box will be open. So you can kind of make anything with this. Let your ideas find a way, I should say. This project was a little bit more difficult than the other projects. I don't know if you could see or feel, but this, I wouldn't say that this is a very hard project for beginners. It of course takes a little time to get into. We take some knowledge from the first 1, 2, and 3 episodes in the project, but this is not too hard. But you can use this for a lot of things. Thank you for watching the video. If you feel like this was a good video, make sure and like and subscribe to the channel for more content like this. So, thank you.